Jerry Pierce. I joined the Navy in 1962, really in an officer candidate program. Actually, I was enlisted at the time, but that was part of the program. And when I graduated from college, then I went on active duty in the Navy, and I was commissioned at that time. So that's really how I got into it. My specialty was intelligence, and so I served during that time as a junior officer in Vietnam, and then I later spent a total of 34 years in the Navy, retiring at the rank of captain. When I joined the Navy, people say, "Well, why did you join?" And you know, I always figured that we were going to be in one conflict after another, and there'd be drafts and etc. And I never will forget what my dad told me, because he ended up, joining up in 1942 in World War II. He joined the Coast Guard, and he said, "Well, always remember this." He said, "Once we go to war, everybody's going to end up in it if you're physically qualified." And he said, "You need to make up your mind, and you want to live in a foxhole and eat sea rations, or do you want to be on a ship and get 3 meals a day in a hot bunk? You're either doing that, or the place is burning and you're swimming, and there's no in between. Because once you attack a ship, it either makes it or it doesn't. It either burns up and sinks, or you're fine." Mm-hmm. And that was his advice to me. So I thought, well, that's pretty good advice. So I joined the Navy. We deployed really out of San Francisco around New Year's Day, 1968. We went to Hawaii for a few days, and then we went on to Japan. And it was kind of interesting because the first time that we were a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier had been to Japan since the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So we saw a lot of protests that went on while we were there, although they didn't bother us. But as we started to leave Japan en route to Vietnam, we received word that the USS Pueblo had been attacked off the coast of North Korea. So we spent the next 30 days or so in the Sea of Japan, monitoring that situation, but really not taking any action. From there, we finally left the cold waters of North Korea in midwinter, and we went to sunny Gulf of Tonkin. And we arrived there about 5 weeks later than we intended. And then we joined the air war off the USS Enterprise, going into North Vietnam as well as South Vietnam, providing air support to the ground troops which were in South Vietnam. And during that time, we had a lot of rules of engagement that we had to abide by. Depending on a particular whim of the time, we couldn't fly into North Vietnam. And then, all of a sudden we could fly up there, but we could only hit this target or that target and not another target. Or then we can only fly on even numbered days and odd numbered Saturdays or something. I mean, you wouldn't believe all of the constraints. And all of this was really based on people having a view that you didn't want to get a wider war and bring China and Russia into it. Well, the truth of the matter, the Chinese and the Vietnamese have hated each other for years, but nobody bothered to read the history. And Mao Zedong was not going to come to the defense of Vietnam no matter what happened. Unlike in Korea, where he went to the aid of his ally, which was North Korea. So that situation was occurring really out of the naivety of the politicians trying to run things for us. And so we had all of these engagement rules, which were very difficult. And the reason I was aware of so many of them, being in the intelligence side, I was stationed on the ship in the intelligence spaces where we briefed all the flight crews before and helped them plan their missions, for the air war. And then we debriefed them there when they came back to to determine the effectiveness of what they did, etc. And so there's a lot going on during that time. Your days were 20-hour days, and you'd eat 4 meals a day because you had to, and you're going to work 20 hours a day. And we lost a lot of flight crews. Some of them were mechanical, some of them were shot down by AAA. Very few were shot down by missiles by that time because the missile situation had been pretty much neglected. I can remember during that time a couple of MiGs came up to try to shoot down some of our fighter jets. They were doing some escorting of planes into North Vietnam on the days that we were allowed to go up there. And we shot them down, the flight crews did. And then we had another situation where we used surface-to-air missiles to shoot down their planes as soon as they lifted off the runway. And since we knew that they were Russian crews in those planes, they quit flying MiGs after that, never flew them again as far as anyone knows, because the Russians said, we're not going to get involved in this because it's real dangerous. And that was the end of that.